Jewish Education in Media is pleased to present LChayim, a program that highlights the people, issues, and events of importance to the Jewish community. Now here is your host, Rabbi Mark Golub.
I'm Mark Golub, and at one time before World War II, one of the major centers of Jewish life was Poland, where some 3.3 million Jews resided, some of whom, perhaps many of whom, were once part of your family. Tragically, almost all of them, 3 million Jews, were murdered in the Shoah, and the center of Jewish life, of Jewish culture, literally disappeared from the face of the earth. Until now. Remarkably, there is a resurgence of Jewish culture in Poland today, and the man who is perhaps most responsible for its recurrence is Janusz Makuch, who is the creator and director of the Jewish Culture Festival in Krakow, one of the largest festivals of its kind, a cultural event that represents contemporary Jewish culture for Israel and the diaspora. And Janusz, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It is a privilege to be sitting with you.
It's my pleasure and honor. Thank you.
First of all, Mazal Tov, congratulations. What you have done, it's more than 20 years, has it not been?
Yes, I have started to do this festival in 1988.
Okay.
Just 1 year before the communist collapsed in my country.
Okay. All right, I want to take this step by step. Your story in and of itself is fascinating. I want you to take me through it. First of all, you are not Jewish.
I am not Jewish. I was born in the so-called ordinary Polish family where my mother was Catholic, my father was communist. And I knew nothing about the Jews. I knew nothing about the Jewish culture. But I was lucky enough. I met a very wise man in my hometown who asked me a very significant question. Do you know, young man, he asked me in a bookstore, that the half of population of people who lived in your hometown were Jewish people. It was first time in my life.
In your hometown?
In my hometown.
What was your hometown?
My hometown is Puławy. It's a small but very historical city, located like 50 kilometers from Lublin. So I was shocked.
You did not know this?
I did not. I knew nothing, literally nothing. No one taught me in school about it. I don't know.
Did you know any Jews?
No, of course not.
You have any friends who were Jews? Obviously not.
Not.
Interesting.
So he became a Melamed, and he was his bucher. So every day I visited him in his house, and he opened the door before this young bucher to the Jewish world. So when I came to Krakow, studied at the Jagiellonian University, I thought that I know a lot. And thank God I met people like me, Jewish, half Jewish, quarter Jewish, non-Jewish people who were more than, hungry and desire with the Jewish culture. We were fascinated with the Jewish culture. Why? For part of us, it was like discovering Atlantis. For the
discovering Jewish culture was like discovering Atlantis.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, just 1 second. How old are you when this gentleman comes and says to you, Janusz, do you know any Jews?
I could be 13, maybe 14 years old.
Okay, what prompted somebody to ask you that question? That's out of the blue.
I was very interested with the history of my city. I told you it's a small but very historical city where the Prince Czartoryska founded two first historical museums in Poland. So he knew about my desire, he knew about my knowledge regarding to my history of my hometown. But he probably also knew that I know nothing about the Jews.
Was he a Jew?
He wasn't Jew, but he had a lot of friends among Jews. He was born before the First World War. And this is a fascinating story because when I decided to move from my hometown to Krakow, he asked me a question. He said to me, why don't you bring this manuscript, which I wrote about the Jews from Puławy, and please go to the Catholic publishing house Znak, Sign in Krakow, and leave it to them.
He had written a book about Jews.
He wrote a book about Jews.
And he gave it to you to bring to Krakow.
He gave it to me, this manuscript, to bring it to Krakow. So I put this manuscript on the table between this book, a beautiful lady, young lady, and me. And she offered me the tea, a cup of tea, and we started to talk. And suddenly she asked me, so you are Jewish? And I have to admit, I have to say, I was ashamed to say no. But
so what did you say?
I said, well, yes, I don't remember what I said. I tell you what I did.
Honest, very honest, okay.
After 6 years, as we used to say in Krakow, Baruch Hashem, she became my wife.
Oh,
so there was no accident.
That's so sweet.
Yes.
Was she roughly your age?
Yeah.
Okay. And how old are you when you sat with her with the manuscript? Roughly how old are you?
It was a manuscript about the Jews from Puławy, from my
Yes.
hometown.
And how old are you that day?
I was 20 years old.
Okay. Were you in the university at that time?
Yeah, I started university at that time.
Okay. One more question about your earlier years. There is, sadly, a history of anti-Semitism in Poland. Do you feel your parents were in some way infected by anti-Semitism?
I don't think so. The only thing I remember right now was that when my parents found out that I'm more and more involved in the Jewish world, they said literally nothing. They died, they passed away many, many years ago. But I'm not going to create some kind of mythology of myself. I am who am I. But they encourage me.
That's the
no
question.
doubt. Having no questions, having no doubts, absolutely they encourage me.
Okay, because I was going to ask you, did they discourage you?
No.
And on the contrary, they encouraged you.
Absolutely.
You were very lucky.
I am, since the beginning. I'm very, very,
very lucky. Now explain to me how the next level of your awareness, understanding of Jewishness occurs, because what is so striking, and the audience has already picked it up, there is a naturalness to you when you use Yiddish words, where you talk about Jewish terms.
Yes.
So that again, I don't mean this, it could be either a compliment or a criticism. I don't mean it either way. I'm just saying that if one does not know that you're a Jew, everything about you screams Jewish. Now, to me, that is a compliment, but I don't know how you'll take it. But my sense is your bearing, the way you speak, the terms you use, the sensibilities you have, reflect a very lovely Jewish side of a human being. And I want to know, Janusz, how does that happen to you?
That I don't know. Honestly speaking, I do not know. It just happened. And of course, when you want me to put our conversation on this higher level, and so just forget about my fascination, it was a line between the fascination and just simply purely love. I became a part of this world, as well as this world became a part of me. You perfectly know the term dibuk. So it happened to me. Dibuk is inside of me, thank God. And I'm not going to play with the world, I'm not going to play with myself. Of course, I feel very deep sense of responsibility being Polish. I was born in Poland just only 15 years after the Shoah. So almost on the edge of two epochs, before and after the Holocaust. So someday I just felt the deep responsibility for what happened in my land. But I tell you honestly, when I realized what happened, that, as I said, 6 million Jews were murdered during the one long night by Germans who left us the legacy of death, I thought myself and I asked myself, do you want to live in the shadow of death? Never. because their life is always and always and always more important than death. So I started to explore the Jewish culture and Jewish life created in my land. I'm not going to live, and I don't live in the shadow of Auschwitz, which doesn't mean that I treat Holocaust in a lightly way. No. But what I'm trying to do, I'm paying homage to all these people who lived in my country through the living culture. And when you go to the cemetery, and for many, many, many Jews, Poland is a cemetery, of course. What are you doing there? You are praying. Where are you praying? You are praying Kaddish. Is there any word about the death in Kaddish? No. So the festival, which I have been created from many, many years, became the sense of my life, but it is also the never-ending educational process aimed via systematic transformation of Poles, Jews, people of goodwill. What can we do? It cannot be like that the 6 years of Shoah overwhelmed almost 1,000 years of the vibrant Jewish culture. No, it cannot eclipse it. That's what I pay homage, and that's why the Jewish Culture Festival in Krakow, I want to emphasize it, not Ashkenazic festival, not Sephardic festival, not Israel, Jewish, all entire Jewish culture festival reflects, it is most important thing, the culture which is created nowadays, contemporary Jewish culture. Just want to show people that, thank God, this culture is a proof that the Jewish nation, thank God, is alive, is very creating, and moreover, and more and more and more people from Israel are coming to Poland and taking part in it. So the Jewish Culture Festival in Krakow is a festival about the Jewish life, moreover, about the Jewish future.
It's fabulous. It's just fabulous. The girl you fell in love with on the table with the manuscript, I assume she is not Jewish either.
But she has a Jewish heart.
She has a Jewish heart. I was going to ask you, how does she feel about the fact that you have devoted your life to making sure the world appreciates Jewish culture?
As I told you, Mark, since the beginning, I'm more of a lucky man. I met my Melamed. Then I met Marisha. Maria is the name of my wife. And of course, I was no one. I was so deeply involved in my world, but I studied, of course, but it was time of the communism. She said to me, do what you love to do. I will support you. I will support our home. So she had supported me since the beginning. And honestly speaking, thanks for her, I still can continue these amazing, amazing efforts. And on my way, of course, I met the other people like Michael Steinman from Philadelphia, who is the president of the Association of the Jewish Culture Festival. I met Zygmunt Rolat, who is one of my best and the biggest sponsor. I met Ted Taube, who was born in Krakow and who lives in via San Francisco. I met Michael Steinberg. I met Shayna Penn. I met a lot of fantastic people, Jeff Faber from Correct Foundation. And suddenly, all these people came to Krakow and witnessed that, yes, this Meshiga, this man is doing something really important. He's really concentrating. He's focusing all the time on the life. So this is once again, I want to repeat it, this is a festival about the life. Jewish life, but also Polish life. But let me tell you something, Mark. I know that after the Shoah, something awful happened in Poland. Jewish life died in Poland. Moreover, Jewish life died in Europe. But maybe you'll be surprised, or maybe even you disagree with me. At the same time, Polish life died in Poland too.
Are they related?
Oh yeah. When you can imagine that we have almost 1,000 years we lived together, one by side, but this history was somehow intertwined. You could not image the Polish culture, politics, literature, historian, art, everything without the involvement of the Jews,
Okay,
especially after Haskalah.
Janusz, explain something to me. There is, again, very often people have conceptions, and they can be misconceptions. But the conceptions people have determine how they view the world and how they view history. And sometimes it's the old saying, you know, there are some people who don't even want to know the facts. Don't bother me with the facts.
Yeah.
I'm now looking for clarification from you. I asked you before, were your parents anti-Semitic? Because there was anti-Semitism in Poland. In general, much of Jewish life was self-contained in Poland. It wasn't necessarily, this is preceding any Nazi attempt to create ghettos. The ghetto was established by Eastern European countries and Western European countries because they wanted the Jews to be isolated.
The first ghetto was in Italy.
Exactly. And what the Jews did was they created an entire sense of community inside whatever the walls were. And the walls were not necessarily always locked, but at the same time, Jews were treated by the host culture in a certain way. And one of the things that we now consider when we look back on the history of Polish Jewry is that Poland itself was not terribly hospitable to the Jew. And therefore, my sense of Jewish participation in overall, general, secular Polish culture is something that is a bit of a surprise to me. That may only because, again, I come with my own misconceptions. I want you to speak for a moment about the extent to which, in fact, the Jews of Poland were integrated enough into Polish life in general that there could be real Jewish impact on Jewish culture on Polish culture as a whole. And what would you say to any of us who've always imagined that as far as the average Pole was concerned, the Jew was relegated to a very small, perhaps even seen negatively, and was brushed aside, and whatever culture Judaism produced in Poland and in Eastern Europe, Hungary as well, it was internal to the Jewish communities of these countries, not a broad sense of embrace of a larger culture.
I think it was also external. I remember that Hannah Arendt once wrote that the Jews should emphasize their role in the process of creating the European culture, especially after Haskalah.
After the Enlightenment, or from the Enlightenment on.
Okay, especially after that time, a lot of Jews started just in a very normal and a very natural way contribute to the Polish culture. I'm talking about the writers. I'm more than sure that you know the name of, for instance, Bruno Schulz, one of the biggest Polish writer. He wrote in Polish, of course, but he was Jewish. He wasn't killed in the Drohobycz because he was Polish writer. He was killed because he was Jewish. The same story with the, I don't know, the Mordechai Gebirti, who is mostly known in the narrow world of Jews. However, his legacy became our common values, our common part. A lot of people who even don't know Yiddish sing the Mordechai Gebirti songs translated to Polish. So it was, I think, the whole bunch of people from different fields, like literature, filmmakers. Should I tell you something more about the filmmakers and about the Hollywood? Should I tell you about the Roman Polanski and about the people who escaped, thank God, Poland and started to create the...
Okay, but are you saying to me that you think Roman Polanski identifies as a Pole?
Well, anytime when he's coming to Krakow, to Poland, he identified himself as a
I guess
Pole.
in Poland he might.
Yeah.
But my sense is that when he was in America, the Polish piece of him was never something that he wanted to.
That's right.
Okay, and that
That's right.
and that was something I find it so fascinating that the Jew who did not see himself or herself as a Pole. You know, by the way, the easiest analogy for me, and the audience will understand exactly where I'm going with this. There was a large Jewish population throughout what was known as the former Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In the former Soviet Union, they were not allowed to be Russian. They were Jews. Then this population, after Operation Exodus, has this enormous opportunity either to move to Israel or to the United States, primarily Israel and the United States. They come to the United States, and every American Jew calls them a Russian. You're a Russian Jew. Mm-hmm. Where when they lived in Russia, they were never Russian. They were Jews who lived in parts of Russia. They lived in Georgia. But they weren't Georgians. They were Jews. And they were Jews because that's the way the non-Jewish Georgian looked at them. And my sense is that the Jews in Poland had some of the same experience. The Poles in Poland looked at them not as Poles, looked at them as Jews.
Absolutely. And especially at that time, in the 20s, in the 30s, you are absolutely right.
And that's one of the reasons why I find what you're doing to be so extraordinary. Because what you're doing, and again, if I'm overstating it, you correct me. You are bridging a gap that existed prior to the Shoah.
Yeah.
Part of the genius of what you're doing is that you're not simply resurrecting Jewish culture in Krakow. You are resurrecting a link that in some way is new, is exciting. We live in a new world, and we would like to believe that there are places on earth, Krakow simply being an example, and you have a museum opening in Krakow that's going to celebrate the history of Polish Jewry. Amazing. But it seems to me that in some way, one of the things you've done, again, is built something upon a foundation that improves what was there to begin with.
I agree with you. The big issue in terms of the festival is that, the festival is some kind of a bridge, of a gesher. I always repeat this sentence of the Rabbi Nachman from Bratslav. Kol haolam kulo gesher tzar meod. Know that the man walks through his life on the very narrow bridge.
Narrow bridge.
But most important thing is not to be afraid. I'm experienced by history. I know the history. I know that the history is completely unpredictable, especially in my part of the world. I'm not going to say nothing now, just right now, about Russia or Ukraine, but you know what I mean. So, but try to imagine, Mike, it is 1946. Try to imagine that time, the future, a Jewish future. And then 2 years after, the state of Israel was established. No one believed in it. No one believed in it. Of course, now, Polish people, especially young Polish people who, believe me, have the open mind and open heart, doing all his efforts to understand more of a cultural and historical identity through exploration of a Jewish culture too. But Poland became probably the only country in the world where thousands of non-Jewish people learn every day Ivrit, Hebrew, Yiddish, study Jewish subjects, who are the teachers of the Holocaust. We are dealing with our painful history daily. There is no one like Jan Tomasz Gross in the other countries of Europe, It is only one Tomasz Gross in Poland, in United States. He, by the way, was at least 3 times at my festival, as well as the Daniel Pipes, Aaron Appelfeld, Aleph Beit Yehoshua, and the other people like this one. So what we are trying to create, yes, this is a bridge, there is no doubt, but once again, this is also never-ending educational process. And if people ask me, okay, what do you want to achieve? When you have started to do this festival, you was crazy enough, Meshiga enough, 28 years old guy, fine. Now I'm 54. What can I achieve? The next medal from my president, a Scheinem Dank. I can only enrich the process of our mutual respect and reconciliation. Because honestly speaking, this bridge is nothing more like a bridge of reconciliation, which we are building over the bloody river of history. We cannot change the past. We don't know what will be in the future, but we know one very important thing, Mark. Our future begins today, not tomorrow.
That's beautifully said, Janusz. By the way, I want to say to you, I want to say to the audience, one of the reasons why I get to sit with Janusz is that we here at Shalom TV have developed a wonderful relationship with the Polish consulate in New York. And we've been there a number of times. We're planning on doing more with them. Just marvelous people. And we did a program on Jan Karski.
Oh,
and then we did a program.
Hero.
Absolutely. Then we did a program that highlighted the opening of the museum in Krakow, the Museum of Polish Jewish History. And the people at the Polish consulate are just some of the loveliest human beings on earth. And one of the things that's important for me now, and I'm talking purely personally, Janusz, is that I want Jews today to understand how there is, in reality, a different Poland. And that's one of the things you're helping us learn. And when you talk about the gesher, the bridge that you're trying to build, and the people who surround you, it warms my heart in a way that I really hope resonates with our audience, and they understand that you have begun a process. And you said a moment ago, it's not true of every country in Europe, but it's true in Poland.
Yes, absolutely, yes. MS.
And for that, you get enormous credit. You know, listening to you, I do say to myself, so, Janusz, why didn't you ever become formally a Jew?
This very simple question and serious question needs a very complicated answer. So please, and on one hand, you know, you have to hear the voice. You know, one of my cities, Yerushalayim. I think that I was born in Yerushalayim many centuries ago. There is no doubt. So I don't. When I will hear the voice of Hashem, then I will do it. But I tell you something. It's a beautiful story. You mentioned the name. Actually, you didn't mention the name, but you mentioned the Consul General of Poland in New York. To New York, Mrs. Ewa Ziemecka, Junczyk Ziemecka. Phenomenal.
She's unfortunately ending her term.
Yeah, I know. We just met 2 days ago. We had a fundraiser.
Remarkable. And her deputy is such a lovely, lovely man.
Absolutely.
Just extraordinary people.
I wanna tell you about a friend of mine who is one of the best cantor in the world, Ben-Zion Miller from Brooklyn. Many years ago, I talked to Ben-Zion Miller around the Szeroka Street, the very heart of the Jewish neighborhood in Krakow, where all my concerts and events takes place. And I talked to him. I said, Benzi, listen, I think that I feel that I should convert. And he's a Hasid, he's a Bob over Hasid. And he looked at me and said, well, you know, we have a million of Jews around, but you are the only one whom we have as such a man. So be who you are. Don't convert yourself. Be who you are, and you are being with us. And honestly speaking, he is right. They don't need the other Jew. They need a Okay, with Shames Chavez Goy. And I tell you something. We talk a lot about the Polish Jews. Yes, I'm proud to come from the country where for almost 1,000 years Polish Jews found their homeland. But to additional to this situation, I want to say something more, which is very, very important for me. For the hundreds of years, we call these people Polish Jew. I am not a Polish Jew. I'm a Jewish Pole. And I know that there are more and more and more people like me in Poland who feel and who think in this way. They are Jewish Poles, and they are Polish Jews at the same time. Well, what I wanted to prove is that nowadays, in the contemporary Poland, you can be Jewish and Polish at the same time. And this is something amazingly important. This is like a miracle. And I tell you, Mark, I bless every day the God, and I thank Him that I was born in this time, and that I can witness this time, that I can take a part in the process of creation, a new reality. I don't know what we will achieve, but I know one thing. I will do it to the last moment of my breath, to the last moment of the beat of my heart. Amen.
Amen v'amen. Beautifully, beautifully said. Do you have children?
Thank God, yes.
How many?
I have Alexandra Sara, and a daughter, and Shimon, my son, too.
You named your son Shimon?
Yeah, Shimon Yaakov.
Shimon Yaakov.
Well, Nachon.
Better.
And they are better. And we are very proud of his father. God forgive them.
How old are they now?
Alexandra is Sarah is 28 years old. Shim is 26.
And how do they feel about the Krakow festival, the Jewish festival?
Well, I even don't remember when it happened. By the way, I brought you a book about the 20 years of the Jewish Culture Festival in Krakow, and I am rather more than sure that you will find a picture of me and my daughter, maybe my son.
Absolutely.
And we are on the stage introducing the people. So it just happened. You know, they became my volunteers. I have never made them to be my volunteers, by the way. So first they became my volunteers. Now they are the chiefs of my volunteers.
Really?
Yeah. So they are.
How proud that must be.
I am proud.
I mean, that's wonderful, and I'm very happy to hear that. By the way, this is a gift from Janusz to me. It is Second Soul, 20 Jewish culture festivals in Krakow, Poland, and it is a gorgeous picture book, and boy, this is a wonderful gift. I am very touched, very moved. I want you to take a moment now, just describe for our audience. Each year, the festival is held roughly around the same time, correct?
Correct.
When?
It starts from the last Friday of June till the first Sunday of July. So this year, if I could remember, we'll start on June 27th, and we'll finish on July 6th.
Okay. And if I'm in Krakow during this week of the festival, what do I see? Describe for our audience what Krakow is like that week.
Well, first of all, Krakow was a city, as I told you, where the Jewish city, Jewish neighborhood, created by one of the Polish kings in the 1335, hasn't been destroyed during the Second World War. So we are still surrounded by the 7 gorgeous, beautiful shuls, synagogues, built mostly in the Renaissance and the Baroque period. And one of them, which was built in the second part of the 19th century, still serves as my natural venue for all concerts. So when you come to Krakow, and especially when you've crossed the thresholds of a Jewish neighborhood, you will be in the middle of the Jewish world, real, authentic Jewish world. which is of course intertwined with so-called virtual Jewish world, but most of people invited by me to Krakow at the festival are Jewish artists from Israel, from States, from Europe. This is Jewish festival, even organized by so-called non-Jewish guy. So the main actors, main participants of the festival are Jews. And of course, we are creating entire Jewish cultural worlds, starting from the synagogal music through the klezmer, conservatory, Hasidic, avant-garde, up to hip-hop and kosher gospel. We bring every year to Krakow the young generation from Tel Aviv, mostly from Tel Aviv, crazy guys, hipsters, schmipsters who are creating the culture which is most popular right now in Tel Aviv. So you can attend the concerts, you can attend the screen film, you can attend a lot of workshops. We put together like 220 up to 250 events, which takes place during the 10 days. You will be a part of the authentic, vibrant Jewish culture from all over the world. And at the almost last day, Saturday night, we start to organize so-called final concert, which takes place on Szeroka Street, and is attended by the approximately 15,000 people. It is televised, satellised. We build a huge stage where on the stage the most eminent Jewish artists, Jewish also including Israeli artists, performing between 6 p.m. and 1:30 in the morning. And 15,000 people, you know, enjoy the music, enjoy themselves, people from different parts of the world. So once again, the Krakow Festival is a festival about a vibrant Jewish culture created nowadays. Of course, we pay homage to the past, but we treat past as the source of inspiration. We'll have a lot of workshops because the festival is about education. So one of the most renowned, the guitar player and the singer Jeff Warshauer is coming to Krakow again with his beautiful wife Deborah Strauss, who is phenomenal violin player. They will give a concert and also they will continue the workshops which we have done from at least 10 or maybe 12 or if not 15 years. So we'll have the workshops, of course. We have the workshops with Ben Zion Miller, one of the greatest chazan in the world. He will give workshops about the Hasidic songs, but also, it is gimmick, absolutely gimmick. Ben Zion, who is a friend of mine, and I spend the whole holidays in his house. He's also great cook. So he is going to give a workshop dedicated to the traditional Jewish cuisine, you know, gefilte fish,
really?
All this stuff which we both like very much. And but we of course have the cuisine from Morocco, from India, Jewish cuisine from Morocco, from India, etc., etc. So there is a bunch of a lot of concerts, lot of events. But most of things will be dedicated to the this time to the you can be surprised kibbutz. The idea of kibbutz was born in Poland, and you cannot imagine the state of Israel, especially the beginning of the state of Israel, without this crazy idea of kibbutz, which combine, you know, on the one hand Zionism and on the other hand, oh my goodness, communism. But so we will we have a lot of lectures and the film screenings and the exhibitions devoted to the kibbutz. So just don't think about who is from United States, who is from Israel, who is from Morocco, who is from Russia, who is from Poland. All we are the same neshpuch at the time.
That's marvelous.
You know, I'm very focused of two aspects of the festival. First of all, something which will be a little difficult to describe. It has authenticity. That's why That's why most of my artists are Jewish people. If
Yes,
I want to
yeah.
organize the, I don't know, Bulgarian or French festival, so I will go to Bulgarian people. So authenticity, and the second aspect is extremely important, the high level, as high as possible. This is a reason, one of the million of the reasons why PBS called me in 1995 and said, you know, Janusz, we want to come to your festival with Mr. Itzhak Perlman. We want to make a film about Itzhak Perlman and let them play with your klezmorim. So I said, well, nice, let me think about it. And of course they came and they made a beautiful film. The title of the film is In the Fiddler's House. Itzhak spent with his father a few days in Krakow. He played together with the Brave Old World Klezmatics Conservatory Klezmer Band and Andy Statman, one of the most eminent, recognized, phenomenal klezmer, real klezmer and neo-klezmer bands. And what he did, he showed all the world that the klezmer music played by Itzhak Perlman and eminent Jewish artists is our common heritage, and this is a beautiful, profound music. So I can't invite people who are just only imitate this kind of music.
You want creators.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, very nice.
Honestly speaking,
But the other thing that's happened in America is that there has been over time, it happened gradually, but it is happening more and more frequently now in American Jewish communities. You know, there once was, Janusz, the notion that there was music in the temple in Jerusalem, and then the temple was destroyed.
Of course.
But every Shabbat, there was an extraordinary music created in the temple. When the temple was destroyed, there was a tradition developed that in reverence to the destruction of the temple, we will not play music in synagogues on Shabbat. And so to this day, in Orthodox synagogues, traditional synagogues, they will not use musical instruments, even though musical instruments were such an integral part of the Jewish people's expression of prayer and worship.
Right.
Okay. In non-Orthodox synagogues, there's been a revolution.
Yes.
Where there is now an entire corpus, not of chazanut. I'm not talking now about the great cantors. I'm talking about the understanding that Jewish music that reflects today's time, you talk about today, the present, that the music that is typified here in New York at B'nai Jeshurun, which is in some way out of B'nai Jeshurun has come a whole new model. So that synagogues now all over the United States, every Friday night here on Shalom TV, we televise live services from Central Synagogue in New York. Central Synagogue is one of the great Reform synagogues in America, but it now has musical presentations throughout the entire service, multiple guitars, other instruments as well. I come from Stamford, Connecticut. At Temple Bethel, a mainstream conservative synagogue, they brought in a cantor who revolutionized the music that goes with services, so that it is now an entirely different experience, and it brings Jews in. I started as a rabbi in the early 1970s, and when I did, I played the accordion. Now, the accordion is not the guitar, but at the time, it was unusual for a rabbi to be playing a musical instrument during services. And it characterized the chavurah that I was with, and people came and they loved it. And now, you go from synagogue to synagogue, there's a guitar. Sometimes there's a guitar and percussion. Sometimes a guitar, percussion, and a violin. A violin now has been added to my chavurah service. There's the flute. And now there's the piano or the electric piano. Anyway, there is that music. And so whether you're talking about a Perry Smilo, who out of the Reform movement does fabulous music on Shabbat, Jules Frankel, who is a great song leader, who has created all sorts of music. And Jules Frankel does the musical theme of Shalom TV. Every time we put the schedule up on the screen, Oseh Shalom by Jules Frankel is what we play. Or there's a woman named Donnie Zasloff Thomas, who is Mama Donnie, who deals with kids, who creates all of her music as of her own. And I am just saying to you that what you're trying to do is show the world the expansive, exciting Jewish culture of
Yes,
today, and to
absolutely.
the extent to which this also is part of what you ultimately bring to the Jewish Cultural Festival of Krakow is something that would be marvelous. It sounds like you're doing a lot of it already, but it is the breadth and excitement of and I want to say this again because it's your idea. It's Jewish today.
Exactly.
It's not Jewish of my parents. When I grew up, this wasn't part of my synagogue experience. But the kids who grew up today, this is what they experience. I'll tell you one last story, then then I want to hear what you have to say. In my chavurah, we were asking kids to draw pictures of Jewish symbols. One kid draws a talit. One kid draws a ner tamid, eternal light. One kid draws an accordion. Because for him, when he went into a service, there was always an accordion there. And it's interesting how Jewish symbolism evolves as well. And we had to explain to him, as sweet as it is, an accordion is not a Jewish symbol, and yet there's something profound in this child's drawing. Do you understand?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I tell you more, nowadays accordion play a really major role in the instrumentarium of the Jewish bands. Well, in Poland, in Krakow, we have a genius, a phenomenal Jarosław Bester, who is the founder of a Bester Quartet, the only band from Poland who is still released in the Tzaddik by John Zorn. And of course, and many others. By the way, I brought you also the music out from Poland.
This is so
Jewish
lovely.
Contemporary music out from Poland with accordionists, as you see on the.
That's fabulous.
When you talk about the nature showroom, it crossed my mind the medley, of course, because I know Anthony Coleman, who arranged it, and I've been there a few times. I was astonished because knowing each of the track of these CDs, I could close my eyes and sing with the people during the service. It was really very, very, very touching. So, yeah, you're right. That's what we are creating. We are creating the open world. This is not a world of a ghetto.
Mm-hmm. The people who come to celebrate with you, the people who arrive from all over the world now for this festival each year, how does the general Polish Krakow community respond to them?
Well, first of all, this festival couldn't exist without the financial support. So we got a lot of money, really serious financial support from the city of Krakow.
Really?
Oh, yes, since the beginning. And a president...
Why?
Why? Because we have a vice president who understood that, hey, how can we talk about Krakow? How can we emphasize the role of Krakow in our Polish culture without the Jewish involvement? By the way, I love to call it, we have a Kazimierz, the Jewish city, which is located in the very heart of Krakow. It is Jewish heart located in the Christian city, Krakow. So they understood it, and of course they're supporting us. They have supported us actually from the beginning. Supporting the festival, they are doing a very smart way. More and more people are coming to Krakow and they're leaving money.
That's true.
The other very serious contribution is from the Polish government, from the Ministry of Culture. So, of course, we have the very, very close relations with the Jewish community in Krakow, so they gave us a synagogue, everything what we want for free. We've been collaborated very, very smoothly with the new organizations in Krakow, Jewish Community Center and Galicia Museum. So, honestly speaking, I am in a very, very lucky and good position still. Of course, I have to fight because, you know, no one
promised. It's a never-ending struggle, right?
Mark, it's a never-ending struggle. No one promised us a paradise except one rabbi 2,000 years ago, but he wasn't our rabbi. So it's really very hard, but you can't get... You should spend your energy, time to understand how important is this goal, this mission. It is not only my mission. It's a mission shared with me by the many, many people, more and more people.
So basically Krakow is welcoming of all the Jews who come.
Absolutely, 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 yes.
Janusz, did you ever encounter either an obstacle in terms of people? Did anybody ever give you grief because you were trying to do this?
Grief?
No one gave you real opposition.
No,
No one criticized you.
I'm just trying to find something. I want to find something from my memory. Honestly speaking, no.
Isn't that lovely?
It is from your mouth to his ears.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's what I said, Mark. It seems to me that Poland and especially Krakow, but take into consideration there is more than only one festival in Krakow. There is a festival in Warsaw, in Wrocław, in Lublin, in Gdańsk, in the smaller places. There's 1,000 of festivals, which means people want to celebrate. This is a celebration of our mutual culture, common culture. So, as far as I remember, nothing happened during our festival. Nothing
One
bad.
last question for you. I want you now to speak about the sweep of history. We go from Auschwitz to the Polish-Jewish Festival of Krakow. What an arc. What does it mean to you?
I tell you, it means a lot, of course. Festival is not a random collection of cultural events. It's, as I told you, I realize every day that I'm living in the shadow of Auschwitz on the so-called largest Jewish cemetery. But the LChayim means also house of life. One of our writers wrote many years ago, well, the body can be burned, souls never. So I mentioned this word. We are trying to create the world of reconciliation. Honestly speaking, I don't believe in the good part of a human being, but it doesn't mean that I shouldn't try to change myself and the world around me. This history can, we always repeat, never again, never again, never again. I tell you honestly, I have a little patience like Shimon Peres to the history, or maybe to the people who are making the same mistakes, repeating never again, never again, never again. Let me tell you something. I think that my imagination and imagination of the people is more important than to remember. We should remember, there is no doubt, but we have to spend all our efforts to try to build a better world. World without the prejudice, stereotypes, anti-Semitism, if it is possible, even if it is naive. So yes, I am naive. And as I told you, being Polak, I was born in Poland, living in Krakow, in the really shadow of Auschwitz. I still have in one of the pocket the poems of Paul Celan, and on the other pocket I have the Kaddish, where, as I told you, there is no words about the death. So we want to celebrate Jewish past, we want to celebrate Jewish today, because honestly speaking, the only thing I care about is my future, Polish Jewish future, which starts today. It means a lot, Mark. It is in my heart. It will be forever. They killed my brothers and sisters. my Jewish brothers and sisters.
You know, I asked you before, why didn't you ever become a Jew? And some wise rabbi said, we don't need you to be a Jew. So I'm going to tell you what you are. You're a mensch. You are a profound, lovely, loving, extraordinary human being who is doing something to make this world a better place and to make it better for the Jewish people. It's been an honor to meet you. I am thrilled that we're going to show some of this festival on Shalom TV. You are welcome at this table anytime. I wish you, as they say in Hebrew, kol tuv v'hatzlacha, only goodness and success for you everywhere you go. Keep up the good work, and I hope we always stay in touch with each other. You are a very special person. Thank you, Janusz.
Thank you very much. Toda rabah.
Janusz Makuch, the creator and director of the Jewish Culture Festival in Krakow, Poland. And again, it's going to be an honor to show some of that to you here on Shalom TV. A remarkable human being. As I've said to you all the time, I always love to hear any thoughts you have to the ideas expressed by our guests. If you want to comment on anything Janusz has said about the festival, and I don't know if any of you will have the opportunity to get to Krakow this year or in succeeding years. I am told, I've never been to Krakow, but I've been told it is a gorgeous city, and it is a place that would welcome any Jew who comes, especially during Janusz's Jewish Culture Festival. So I hope maybe some of you who are watching will actually say, you know what, it's a nice place to vacation. At the end of June, beginning first week of July, I'm going to be at the Jewish Cultural Festival, and if you go, you then email me and tell me what it was like for you. And there will come a time when we will be there. I will be there. My wife will be there. I hope I bring my children. We will all be there. But if we come, I hope we get to meet you there as well. It's wonderful meeting with you here in, here you come to New York and you sit at my table. But one day I want to meet your two children and your wife.
And you can be sure you will sit around my table in my place called Heder.
Thank you. I will.
With the best coffee and cakes in the city.
I look forward to it immensely. Anyway, email me, write me, post on our Facebook wall, tweet me. I look forward to hearing from many of you. Until the next time, I'm Mark Golub. LChayim, my friends, to life.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support Shalom TV with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the Shalom TV website homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to GEM. To GEM, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York, 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive on DVD with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.
LChayim is a presentation of Jewish Education in Media.